rolling hills of Orange County were green with winter rains, and the coyotes howled at night when an Ohio transplant named Ross Cortese took an option on some 2,200 acres of open land, a part of the Moulton Ranch. At that time, about 1,000 people lived in the Saddleback Valley, and I-5 was only 2 lanes. Cortese had built the community of Rossmore, Leisure World Seal Beach, and Leisure World Walnut Creek. He was prepared to launch what would be his most successful housing project for seniors, Leisure World Laguna Hills. Cortese purchased the land from Nellie Gale Moulton. Although the hills turn brown in the summer, the year-round climate averages 72 degrees thanks to the ocean breezes. Heavy earth-moving equipment enabled Cortese to create roads and living quarters in the rolling terrain. He spent more than $4 million before the first residence was sold, and his total investment was more than $120 million. Fields that once grew barley or grazed cattle and sheep were sculptured to lay out streets and to level lots. The first homes were sold as cooperatives, financed to buyers using 40-year, 5.75% Federal Housing Administration loans. Soon residential building number 1 was ready, and draftsmen were busy designing a community of 30,000 homes. Later this was scaled back to 22,000 because some of the acreage had been used for the Willows, a Christian Science home, and for New World, a subdivision for lower-income families. As each new section opened, the panoramic view became a sea of roofs. The first residents moved in on September 10, 1964. In a few years, the community took on an aura of maturity as trees grew. Leisure World has over 50,000 trees. Transient visitors include cedar waxwings that pause in their annual migrations to enjoy the garden setting. In this safe haven, rabbits multiply, as is their custom. Saddleback can be seen from many of the homes. Old Saddleback gives the valley its name. The taller peak is Mount Santiago at 5,440 feet. Santiago was the battle cry of the conquistadors. The peak, 100 feet lower, is known as Modjeska, for an actress from Europe who built a home in the foothills. Old Man Winter is sure to lay a blanket of snow on the ridges of the Santa Ana Range. To add allure to his project, Cortese constructed a mini garden park on the former Circuit City site. Cortese saw a 50-foot Unisphere at the New York World's Fair and decided to use the sphere as a trademark. The first World was erected in Seal Beach, and the second 32-foot sphere was erected here in 1963. Several years later, when the gears wore out, the globe was relocated behind the Episcopal Church, and the park was converted into a commercial site. The globe remained there until 2003, when it came home to Leisure World and was placed next to Clubhouse 7. A sales pavilion surrounded by model homes was built. As house models grew larger and more complex, scale models made them easier to visualize. In the large reception hall of the sales building, Rossmore Corporation staged the Leisure Worlder of the Month ceremony. Paul Zimmerman, a sports writer for the Los Angeles Times, was the 31st Leisure Worlder of the Month. For a while after Clubhouse 1 was finished, sheep still grazed where the CVS drugstore now stands. In 1965, Clubhouse 1 housed the medical staff and pharmacy, the post office, and a bank. In 1972, Clubhouse 1's dining rooms, art studio, billiards, shortwave radio center, swimming pool, shuffleboard courts, lawn bowling, and bocce courts made it the community's most popular destination. The buses, operated by residents, would stop anywhere, collect no fares, and return every 40 minutes for a new run. In 1979 and 80, 12 bus routes shuttled out of Clubhouse 1, logging over 43,000 miles a month, carrying some 90,000 residents to homes, clubhouses, and local shopping centers. Clubhouse 2 was soon ready on a molten Parkway hill, where once wild mustard grew higher than a sheep's back. In 1966, when this picture was taken, Manning's Cafeteria was located inside Clubhouse 2 until they moved the cafeteria to El Toro Road. The men's card club met here, ping pong and billiards flourished, and the banquets filled the big room. At night, dancers whirled away the hours. For a few years, the parking was more than adequate until lawn bowling, golf, and swimming began to draw crowds. Flowers blanketed the hillside leading down to the pro shop. In 1978, the golf pro shop logged over 13,000 rounds. Devotees of Scotland's national pastime pleaded for and got 9 more holes, for a total of 27, at a gross cost of $1,700,000. Winter, summer, spring, or fall, only rains can keep ardent golfers from their appointed rounds. Golf was the second most popular sport in Leisure World, and starting times were not easy to get. The golf course is sprinkled with reclaimed water from the El Toro Water District sanitation plant located behind the hill beyond Clubhouse 2. The holding pond next to Garden Center 1 catches the runoff and assures a reserve. In Cortese's original plans, land was reserved for Clubhouse 3. GRF bought the land, planned and built the structure for about $500,000. Clubhouse 3 was dedicated on March 5, 1971. Residents and dignitaries shared the happy occasion. Administrator Robert Price was master of ceremonies. Today, hundreds of people come to programs in the 834-seat auditorium, play billiards, or participate in club activities in the dining rooms. Clubhouse 5 was under construction in 1975 and opened in 1980 with a week of special events. Clubhouse 6 was first used by Cortese to entertain prospective homebuyers. Later it catered to social groups and provided billiards and swimming for residents. Our homes are numbered consecutively as built in a unique layout that was acceptable to postal authorities, but which often puzzles residents and visitors. The last house is number 5598. Many homes are unpretentious but comfortable. They were built to sell at prices between $12,000 and $25,000, which was attractive to those of modest means. Cordoba. Spanish names abound, not only for street names, but also for manors. Many residents develop colorful borders near their manors. The community has about 4 million flowers and plants. Bougainvillea, a native of South America, was popular. The Merriweather's garden had an oriental look. Pictured is this show's author and photographer, Harold Kime. On holidays, Leisure World was a sea of flags. The Seville was the first 2-story model. The building housed 4 units. The Casa Linda has charm, and the uneven terrain lent character to the community, which in 1978 was cited as Professional Landscape of the Year. This 1968 photo illustrates the more than 175 miles of sidewalks and over 60 miles of streets and cul-de-sacs. It had become clear that the affluent had discovered Leisure World. Architects began to design more luxurious models, such as the 3-story garden villa with its underground parking, elevators, and 3-bedroom units. Varied designs preserve the community's unique beauty. New models adorn the hillsides around the Par 3 golf course. Since 1970, all manors were condominiums, not cooperatives. Attractive landscaping graces each new area. Leisure World has over 800 acres of lawns. In 1974, a unique 14-story development, Rossmore Towers, opened. In this $17 million twin-towered complex, all 311 apartments have a view. The residents enjoy resort hotel living with 3 meals a day and built-in recreation. A few homes include fireplaces to throw out pleasant odors on cool evenings. Before the energy crunch, December saw many homes ablaze with lights, and Leisure World was a shining fairyland. Today, most of the lights sleep in storage. Even the illuminated clubhouses are mostly a memory. Meanwhile, the men of Leisure World gladly surrender to over 200 workers and gardeners the manicuring of lawns and the pruning of mature trees that flourish on 800 acres of landscaping. Leisure World claims to have one of the world's largest automated sprinkler systems with nearly 200,000 sprinkler heads. Huge trucks call it the conveniently located trash bins. Nearly 300 laundry centers were built before Cortese began including laundry equipment in each manor. How barren this neighborhood unit appeared in 1967 when Mutual 16 opened. By 1979, tall trees tempered the summer sun and invited late evening strolls. All utilities and TV cabling are underground. During 1972, Cortese frequently appeared on Channel 6. Closed-circuit television provided local news and stations from Los Angeles and San Diego. Most congregations started in Clubhouse 1 or Clubhouse 2. All present-day houses of worship are outside the walls, on land mostly donated by Cortese as part of his tithe. The first church to open was St. Nicholas in August 1966. Laguna Hills United Methodist Church, now Laguna Country United Methodist Church, opened in November 1966. The Lutheran Church of the Cross opened in July 1967. To Americans, this architecture is Spanish, but in Latin America it is called colonial. Temple Judea opened in March 1968. Geneva Presbyterian Church opened in August 1968. Its unique structure was designed by Perriers and Associates, who designed many famous edifices around the world. First Church of Christ, Scientist, now Calvary Chapel, Pacific Hills, opened in July 1969. The First Baptist Church of Laguna Hills, now Grace Hills Church, opened in October 1969. St. George's Episcopal Church opened in July 1969. It is the oldest of all congregations in the valley. Its original small white wooden structure, built in 1891, is a landmark in Lake Forest. 14 other congregations worshipped in the clubhouses. Anyone entering this enclave must pass through one of 14 gates that are attended by resident security guards. A car with a proper bumper sticker is waved through, otherwise the driver must show a pass. By day and night, patrol cars log over 300,000 miles a year, preserving our security. Residents refer to Gate 3 as the Pearly Gate because of the adjacent mortuary. Every Thursday morning, a gentle thud signals the delivery of the Leisure World News by residents anxious to earn a few shekels. The Leisure World News was free. Walking the dog in Aliso Park helps keep residents age 52 and over young. When is one too old to play tennis? Both Clubhouse 1 and Clubhouse 2 had grass lawn bowling greens. The greens were allowed to rest once a week. The Lawn Bowling Club has organized tours to Australia and Scotland where they compete with local clubs. Table tennis champions can read their league standings in the Leisure World News. The Shuffleboard Club has prime facilities and runs many tournaments. Nearly 70,000 participants were recorded for this sport in 1978. Swimmers have access to pools at 4 different sites. Over 200,000 residents signed in during 1978. The Aquedettes posed for this picture before their 1970 show. Some cyclers go it alone, but few are more gregarious than the Butterfly Patrol. The hikers motor to mountains and parks seeking interesting trails to tramp. The RV crowd, known as the leisure wheelers, enjoy a barbecue at a park site. The stables, where one can rent a ride or board a horse. While the stable podiatrist use, the waiting equestrian can engage in a bit of chick-watching. The feathered variety, that is. One may sally forth solo as Blanche Paul does aboard Glamour Girl, traversing the trail inside Leisure World, while Herman Griffin pauses to give his steed a pep talk. Extroverted saddlers ride on the parade ground or pursue trails on the adjacent hills. Hundreds pursue the terpsichorean art to exercise, while others dance traditional round, folk, or square dances. Old stage pros tutor late-blooming actors who star on stage at Clubhouse Three. Legions have shuffled bridge cards in Clubhouse One's Gold Room. In the new quarters at Clubhouse 4, 240 players can compete. At Clubhouse 2, men gather for table games and man talk, where the patter often opens with, "Did you hear the story about the farmer's daughter?" 4 of the clubhouses provide a billiards room. The Italian game of bocce can be played at Clubhouse 1. Garden plots please many posy planters and onion lovers. Some planters post a security guard. 2 locations now offer over 200 garden plots. Others who aspire to exercise are content to plant a plot in a pot in the atrium. Ruth Olson exercises her elbows with a cup of coffee and stimulates her mind with the morning paper. But for genuinely delightful exercise, there's the gobbling of a piece of pie. The library provides for the literate and the theatrical. It started at Clubhouse 2, then found a second home beside the administration building in what was once a lunchroom. Now, rebuilt on that site is a beautiful building housing nearly 20,000 books. Staffed by volunteers, the library includes a professional librarian as well as a cataloger. Our paperbacks travel the globe. Chief of the paperback collection is Florence Wolfinger, who initiated the section and set up the labeling plan. On the left is Marjorie Bregar, who was in charge of the jigsaw section. On the right is Catherine Wright, who first proposed the library and has shepherded it through all its stages of growth. In 1979, over 150,000 books, paperbacks, and puzzles were checked out. In 1970, the idea for this slideshow came from Camera Club members. Several members contributed pictures, including Florence Ellsworth, who had been the children's photographer for Parents Magazine. The shields of many clubs hang along the arcades of Clubhouse 1. The Camera Club has about 500 members. Started in 1966, the Latin American Club has over 800 members. The Illinois Club is one of several state groups. The Legionnaires promote the display of flags and will install flag brackets upon request. The Globe Twirlers spend many happy hours in their colorful costumes swinging away. Clubhouse 4 was uniquely designed by GRF to house activities related to crafts. The A building has been a center of heavy patronage since it opened in 1973. The ceramics area has workbenches for 40 and 9 pottery wheels. This work shows originality. Clubhouse 1's woodshop, shown here, was dismantled when new quarters were ready at Clubhouse 4. Charles Andren made this giant toy box for his grandchild. Swiss-born Walter Krauss pursued wood carving, long practiced in his homeland. Al Perlman created a 3-foot-high village shoemaker. Intarsia employs special tools and saws to produce pictures in marble. Joe Princiata demonstrates the process of slip casting Easter eggs from slip fluid clay. In the sewing room, Emily Davis explains how to use a sewing machine. Facile fingers formulate fastidious fashions. In the 1978 year-end craft exhibit, cellophane covers protected these precious dolls from curious fingers. Macrame is a knot-tying craft executed by knot knitters who do not knot knots but knit knots. They create items both useful and ornamental. Stitchery is a related craft. Titleman preserves on canvas a likeness in the manner that portraitists have done for centuries before photographs were invented. In 1970, an art exhibit was held near the gazebo at Clubhouse 1. In 1978, the Art Association displayed works by artists old and new. The panel in the background is covered with prints produced next door in the photo facility. There is no end of fascinating activities in Leisure World. The medical center opened in 1965 when a small staff of doctors and nurses moved from Clubhouse 1 to an area next to the post office. Residents initiated the hospital project and have generously donated to it. GRF supplied the land and about $500,000. Today, many of the patients come from Leisure World, as do most of their volunteers. Across the street is the 208-bed Beverly Manor Convalescent Hospital, now Country Villa Healthcare Center. The golden tones on the Taj at evening time remind us that these are the golden years of our lives. We are sitting on the pot of gold at the foot of the rainbow. Our happy postmen deliver our Social Security checks, pensions, and junk mail. Leisure World Laguna Hills, a veritable Shangri-La in which to spend the second half or even the last quarter of the ball game. Here we live content, secure by night and by day, as the world revolves in a delightful, delectable, the lovely location as we near the journey's end.